My name is Karen. My name is Karen Dosher, and I'm a career coach for international students at UC San Diego. I'm joined by my colleague, Sanaz Nabati from the UCLA Career Center, who will be moderating the Q&A. And our special guest today is Tim Zhang. This webinar is part of the first annual University of California Career Conference for international students. And this event was made possible by the joint efforts of the career centers across the University of California. So a very special thank you to all of the participating campuses. I'll give a shout out to UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Santa Barbara, UC Santa Cruz, UC Irvine, UC Riverside, and UC San Diego. Just a note, we are recording this session and the video will be available on the UCLA Career Center's YouTube channel. Also, a link will be sent to those who registered for the session. If you have any questions during the presentation, please drop those into the Q&A. We'll get to those questions at the end. We have about 15 minutes at the end set aside for questions from the audience. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our presenter. Tim Zhang is the CEO and founder of Overseasy, which is based in the Netherlands. And Tim, you were once an international student in the US, and you also have some experience working in the US. So welcome, Tim. Thank you so much for being here to share your knowledge and your experience. And I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Karen. And I will share the presentation right here. And I'm so glad here today to join the UC system to share the knowledge about my experience and the different options post OPT. So feel free to add your questions through the Q&A box. We will address your question at the end of these sessions. So this workshop for international students and alumni will explore the option of going to another country outside the US and maybe go to their home country after their OPT. The session will provide information on building a timeline, building skills to do the research, and how to make the Plan B option. So as Karen mentioned, my name is Tim Zhang. I'm the founder at the Overseasy. Currently, I'm based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Just like many of you, I was a former international student studying in the US. Live in US for 10 years, also work at multiple institutions as a higher education student fair professional. So my experience really teach me I really want to involve students. I want to help people. I want to help people success. And I want to help people to explore their option. That's why I'm here today. And I want to do a very quickly introduction about what is Overseasy and why we are based in the Netherlands. So we are the official partner with the city of Amsterdam. We started the company because we realized the need and the lack of support for international students and young, highly educated people who want to move abroad. Our company is based in the Netherlands because currently Netherlands has the most attractive immigration policy that brings many young and educated people to here. So however, when I just moved to Netherlands, I realized there's no one really help people to adapt to local society. I really enjoy my experience, went to the US institution, there's orientation week, there's the welcome week, really have people guide me through this journey. That's why Overseasy is a provided service to guide our clients with immigration process and the first month's experience program to help people adapt to the local culture, the system, understanding the Dutch job market and building community. Our goal is simple: increase diversity within our society by making global mobility more accessible. So again, today is the informational sessions. We want to take into our concept. However, the immigration and policy change every minute, every days. So we cannot use our advice as a legal advice here. So please be aware, if you do need any specific information about any countries, seeking help from the International Student Office or seeking help from immigration attorneys if needed. So today's webinar, we will spend around 35-40 minutes about the presentation part. So the goal is to explore option post-OPT, focus on overseas careers. For some of them, maybe learn about the potential Plan B options. For some others, it could be looking to option outside of the OPT. So we will start with reflecting, take a moment to think about where you're at, then move to plan your next steps. We will review several overseas options, how to network and prepare your career overseas. And finally, we will put all this information into action steps. We will have some time at the end to answer the question. So we just jump into the first section right away. What's next? Life after OPTs. Many of international students want to find a job in the US after they graduate from university. So I'm just like one of you. So I want to share my story very quickly here. When I graduated from my master program, I was lucky enough to secure a job, full-time job, 3 months before my graduation date. So I don't have that kind of struggling to secure a job during my OPT period. On the other hand, also the reason is I was working in the higher education institution, which for H1B process, it should be more straightforward for me because there is no caption in terms of H1B lottery. So when I got my first job, I thought, oh, it's amazing, it's great. However, I also started to notice some of my priority in terms of my future of my life. As a student and living in the US for 10 years, I know the immigration policy change every year, or could be every minute. I was a little bit uncertain about what could happen in the future. And I was stressed about H1B process for 6 years, what happened if policy changed. Then, a lot of priority things start to kick in, led me to do a lot of reflection. Then I prioritize is what is most important in my life for later 20s-ish. I realized I really do enjoy international traveling, which stay in the US, holding an H1B visa would take that kind of opportunity from me. The reason is whenever I leave US, I have to reapply H1B visa. Then there's a lot of conflict happen from that part. Additional things is I think I want to explore a lot of different options. Living US for 10 years, I want to seeking for different kind of area I want to live at. I want to make an impact using the knowledge I learned from US in the different country. Then I started looking about what are some potential options. Then end up I searching different English speaking country, for example, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Then I started to notice it's really challenging to move there because there are so many other people just like me also want to move to English speaking country. Then I started searching about, let's look in country who don't speak English. Netherlands is #1 in terms of a non-English speaking country. Then I started looking about a lot of changes here in the Netherlands, for example, Brexit. So that also bring more job opportunities to the Netherlands. That's how I end up doing my own reflection and to thinking about what is most important to me, then decide where I want to move to. So my story, just an example to share about, it is important to reflect. This is your journey, so it is important to center yourself in it. A lot of students always think about what other people's pathway, but every single individual person have different background. For example, people did a similar major, they end up in the Google or Amazon, but they are not you. They have different kind of story, they have different kind of element with them. We cannot put ourselves into other people's career paths or put in the other people's box. So take a moment to reflect. So many ways to reflect. So sit, think about this question. You can do a journal. You can talk it out loud with your friends and family. And here, just list of questions to get you started here. So this session is not about OPT. So question on OPT, you should really ask for your international student office at your campus. So here are some other advice we have for every single international students. Do not only follow advice from your friends or relative, only get advice from your international student scholar services or qualified experienced immigration attorneys. Never consult with a non-attorney who does not work in the international office or immigration advice. So always follow advice from your international student office. That's advice about your OPT or stay in the US, but now let's identify your options abroad. So we identified the 4 most common ways for international students interested to pursue move overseas. In this context, overseas means outside the USA. In this session, we will go over the considers and immigration pieces for each of these options. So first option, just like many of you, I also think about maybe I should go back to my home country, China. Return to home, there's a consideration is there are common pathway for most international students, and you know the culture of your home country, you know what the job market is there. And the most important part, you do have work authorization there. You know you have a right to work. But you need to really think about the reverse of culture shock. Maybe you live in US for 4 years for your bachelor level, or maybe just 2 years for master, or maybe you did both of them in the US. So the US culture might be different compared with your home culture. That's important to take consideration in terms of, are you able to go back to that kind of culture? And also, how long is it gonna take you to adjust that culture period? Are you gonna apply for a job while you're in the US, or you want to apply for a job in your home country? This is just some of the questions you should think. And in terms of immigration side, you don't need to worry about work authorization. I think that's one of the biggest stress relief that a lot of students decide to go back to home country because they don't need to worry about that part. Advanced degree abroad. So it essentially is to continue your education going to the school overseas. So for example, there are students decide to go to Canada or go to Australia to continue their education. And part of the reason is Australia and Canada do have very comprehensive immigration policy for their graduate level students, which they can have point system, people are easily to stay in the Canada or Australia. So general consideration for this option is you need to identify the school, program, and the country you can pursue your study at. Apply and get accepted into the program. Think about the cost for the program. Do you plan to stay and pursue your career post getting the next degree? If so, what does the job market, that industry looks like in that country? Some industry might be very popular in the US, but might not be in that country you want to study at. From an immigration perspective, especially if you are looking to applying for study in the third country, you will be going to the third country on the student visa. The institution will be the sponsor for that. And what are the visa resident permit option post your degree? As I mentioned earlier, you need to really look into that part. Is there a program similar as US OPT, job seeker visa, resident permit you will be eligible for? That's the thing you should look into consideration to consider. So for example, currently in the UK, this summer, UK government start to launch a 2-year post-master level student work visa program. So once you finish your post-degree master level, you should be able to get 2 years working visa similar as US OPT program. And that's new. And a lot of time we need to take into consideration about why the country make these kind of changes. Because when a country make these changes, normally means they do want more labor working in their country. That also means you have an increased opportunity to secure a job. So understanding the industry, understanding the policies, why immigration work in that way, and what the timeline when they open up their immigration is quite important if you do decide to study in a different country. So our third option is get hired by a company in a third country. This is a great way, and I think many of you are also thinking about this path. It is hard, but not impossible. Why it is hard? Because sometimes you don't have local address in that destination country. A lot of companies right now use the application system. Because you don't have local address, sometimes you cannot pass the system, you don't get an interview. And if the country do have a lot of people, they would prefer to hire local people. And often people hired for middle level job from other country. That's a lot of recruiters try to recruit people from third country directly. Again, I don't want to be very negative. It is still possible, so definitely look into it, but keep your hope, keep applying, you will get it. You will need to know the job market and see what the position they are looking for. For example, STEM major might be either in certain country, what additional value you can add to the country or the company. Such country's population, understanding why they are hiring people from overseas. So I give one quick example about why this I moved to Netherlands. Part of reason is aging population. You know, that's the issue. Aging is the biggest issue here in the Netherlands. 50% of Dutch population actually over 50 years old. So when I did my research before I moved to the Netherlands, I actually thought, okay, so they do have very open immigration policy. They do want to bring people in. So that kind of really helped me to make my decision to move to the Netherlands. Similar as you want to searching for a job in the third country, you also want to do a little bit more research about their population, about their country's culture. That could really save you some time in terms of just submit all your resume. You can be a little bit more strategic in that way. So last option, I think this option probably for most of people probably never heard it before is yes, you can move to a country without a sponsor. It is possible. So you can get a resident permit to a third country prior getting a job or sponsorship. The consideration is similar as our third options is I said seeking for a job in third country. This can happen prior you apply for the visa, while you apply, or after you arrive. This means you need understanding the overseas job market, understanding what the visa policy looks like. You need to be familiar with overseas job seeking practice and strategy. There are benefits to job seeker while in the third country, which including you will have a local address, local phone number. When you apply for the job in that destination country, you will do have a better chance compared with you applying from third country. You will gain better understanding about the local culture and the community. And also the biggest part is easy to network. And when we're talking about these options is many countries do offer orientation year or job seeker visa for people who are not based in that country. From immigration perspective, with this option, you will be responsible for applying and manage the visa application for yourself. There's no sponsorship necessary to apply. There are some other options. So we will share an example of job seeker visas in the next slide, which is talking about Netherlands. Most of these visa listed above are the first visa options. So after this one, you would want to transition into a second visa or resident permit, learn about what that option would be in the third country you decide to move to. Because for this option, you want to move to the country is a temporary. The country want to give you 1 year as a job seeker to secure a job, to settle down in that country. But you need thinking about what potential could happen. Because oftentimes we heard success story, but no one really talking about failures or story people fail to search in the third country. So we do want to hear both set of story to see if that country is a good fit for you. Do you see people success and do you see people failed and what you learn from it? That's very important part. So this slide, we will share a little bit more about the compare Dutch orientation year visa compared to US OPT. As you can see on the slide, we will talk more about Dutch orientation year here. Is you can apply orientation year within 3 years post of your graduation degree. So we are looking to when to apply. And we also need to look into the length of your visa. So compare with the OPT, then with the third country, which here is in Netherlands, is 12 months. Post visa option, which I mentioned before, we need thinking about what happened after this 12 months period. As OPT, oftenly people were thinking about H1B or green card as a post option. So similar here in the Netherlands, we use this example is highly skilled set migrants visa, which is a work visa. You can start up, which is you can open your own company, the startup permit. Or there's also a pathway to a permanent residency after 5 years with no sponsorship. So that's different things you should look into for that third country. If they do offer an orientation year or job seeker visa, this is the element you should look into it. So here I want to highlight is a benefit part is a lot of people move to the country probably forgot to think about what a social benefit you might get into. For example, in the Netherlands or Canada, the healthcare is one of the big things. So you do get a lot of social benefit by moving to that country. Also, you might save your cost of living per month by the health insurance. So that's another thing you should look into it. And when we're talking about thinking about this third country option, when you look in different kind of element. So this is just one of the example when I did my own personal research. I look at this like 4 elements. I want to look into if they have access for social benefit, what is their English proficiency level, where are they located at, and do they accept me as the Asian in that country, or at least I could find an Asian grocery store. That's the things really help me to identify if I'm able and capable to live in that country. As I mentioned, Netherlands is just one of the options. There are some other examples. The country also do offer job seeker visa or startups visa. So this is just an example you can start. There are more countries, so do not limit yourself based on this list. You will find more countries beyond this list. So the key takeaway, so we have only reviewed these 4 options, but there's still a lot of information, we might not be able to cover and different other options. So we recommend is to think about what might be a good option for you. Once you identify for it, consider what might be a plan B to this option. Because, you could think about OPT as your plan A, go to different country as a plan B. Always have a plan B is very important. So in that way, if one thing failed, right away, I can make something happen. I won't get disappointed from that one of the failures. Once you have selected your opinions, identify the consideration, pros and cons, immigration pieces that are relevant to you, learn about the visa requirement, the timeline, and when to apply. Remember, the best option is the option that suits you the best. As we talking about this earlier, this is your journey, so other people's pathway might not work for you. You need to really think about what works best for you. Again, so that's all the options we have covered. I know it's a lot of information, so I do want to spend some time on this section here, talking about network, specifically talking about network in the global market when you're searching for a job in the different countries. Why is it important and where to network? There are a lot of places you can network as you are looking to conduct an overseas job search. Your university might have a network group for alumni, definitely utilize alumni network group. LinkedIn is great. Recommend to get one if you haven't got one. So we will talk a little bit more about how to use LinkedIn to engage with your alumni in the country you want to move to. Associations, groups. So that's things like different country may have an expat group. Join this group to see how other people move to that country. And the last one is a personal network. Personal networks are also a great place. Share that you are looking for relocate abroad. You never know who is in your network. For example, Facebook or your social media. When I made a career change, I reached out to a friend who gave me so many tips and direction. That's also a friend really encouraged me to move to Netherlands. So that's from my personal network. So in the next slide, we were talking about how to use LinkedIn to really network with your alumni in that destination countries. First, LinkedIn page, searching for your school. And here we search as UC San Diego as an institution. So once you click your institution, you can click the alumni button right there. And you can enter anywhere from the global. You can search by the alumni by title, by the keywords, by the company. And to connect with alumni in particular geography, you can pick where they live and where they work. For example, if I want to view all the alumni from UC San Diego who work in the operations, I would click operations. You will then see operations get added as filter to your search. Then scroll down to view alumni who fit this role. Remember, if you see someone on this list you want to connect with, visit their individual profile so they can personalize your connection requests. You do this by clicking their names, click connect, and when dialog box appeared, select add a note. It is important to add a note. Why it's important is oftentimes I do receive so many LinkedIn connect. Then sometimes I feel like I don't really know the person, why they add me. But by adding a little bit information about yourself, really encourage the chance people accept your connections. And at this short box, I think a lot of career advisor can give you a very good feedback. But from my piece of advice is always find the common ground. Why you want to connect with the person and what's some similar background or story you have with the person. So when the person see, oh, this is students graduate from UC San Diego from same major and want to move to, for example, in the Netherlands, want to do operational job. Sure, I want to provide my tip because this is alum, so I want to help them. So this personalized message does help you for the other party to know you better, even without accepting the invitation. So this is just like a symbol about how to write the message. So as I mentioned before, code message is not great, but it does help in some way. So these are a lot of templates and symbols online too. In general, keep it short and to the point. Start to introduce yourself, share your intention, just want to connect on LinkedIn, then say it. Are you asking about information interview? Then ask for it. Are you interested to learn more about experience at a certain company? Say it. You want to be direct so that person know your intention. If you ask for information in the interview, aim for minimize and back first. For example, if you want to say, hey, great to see your profile. I really want to learn about your personal journey move to this country and this company. Would you be up to for 15 to 30 minutes information interview? If so, what date's suitable for you? So in that way, you are waiting for one message back from the individual instead of back for so many messages. And be appreciative and thankful for their time is also always very important. Again, you are not expect every single one will write you back, but from my experience, 1 out of 10 people will connect with you. And you just need really to do the work to connect with people and keep to find the person can help you. And another tip from me is when you're looking for people from the country you want to move to, I tend to find people graduate close to my graduation date. So for example, if I graduated from 2015, I tend to find people graduate before me, maybe 10 years, so between 2005 to 2015 in that destination country. Because these people might have a little bit more fresh eye in terms of the immigration policy. They might know better about why this company hired them to the country. So instead of you looking for alumni, maybe graduate from university for over 30 or 40 years, their journey might be very different compared with what you want to be. But again, it doesn't hurt to ask for the information or ask for information interview with them. But this is just a piece of my thought to really save my time to connect with people to get the most useful and up-to-date information from the people in the destination country. So as I mentioned before, informational interview, to be honest, I don't really know what is information interview until probably like 6 years ago, until I attended one of the career workshop hosted by my institution. So information interview are so important. They can help gain insight on a career path, learn about opportunities, and build your network. Something to think about as you go into the information interview with someone. Go in prepared. This helps you to be confident. The length normally around 30 to 45 minutes, but some people might be there, so 15 to 30 also work. And who is the person? Check the LinkedIn profile, understanding where they work, type of work, did they change the country? And this is a question, if you want to know why, you should ask them, why are you reaching out to them? What information do you need to know? What do you hope to gain? This can help you determine the type of question you want to ask for them. Get organized. Do you want to ask this person about a career overseas questions? You want to ask about their relocation journey? Or maybe both. On the screen, there are some themes and questions you can ask. Some additional tips from me is aim to make a dialogue. Have question in mind. It is okay to write down your question, read them out loud. It's totally okay. But be open to be yourself. For example, while they talk about their professional journey, they mention about they were on the job seeker visa, moved to the Netherlands, for example. If that's something you want to learn more about it, this is a great time you can really jump in to go deep about that question. You don't have to follow your dialogue question, go to question A, question B, question C. You want to make it more like a conversation. Direct the conversation, very important. Sometimes I also receive people do informational interview with me, because when person reach out to me, I would assuming the interview person want to learn from me. So they are leading the conversation because they reach out to me. But I oftentimes see people just like don't know what to ask. I have to really lead the conversation to see what they want to be, what their career goals. So you should be the person direct conversation, ask the question, do the control in terms of the conversation. It is very important. It will be most likely they will be expect, you ask the question. So be mindful of time, keep the conversation moving. 5 minutes before the end of the conversation, I would like to ask, I wanted to check in with your time, because sometimes the person might have very busy schedule. They might also want to talk more, but they might have a hard stop, or sometimes they just keep going on. They will help prioritize your question, because last 5 minutes, you want to know if any important question on your list you haven't really asked. That's the time you can really change your order there. And last part, you need be yourself. Going back to this is your journey. So do what most comfortable and make you feel confident. For example, if you are the most confident by doing an information interview with a set of number of questions, do that, but don't worry about making it a dialogue. So if that works for you, just do it. Other people's advice is what works for other people. You need to figure out what works best for you. So post information interview, I think that's another part very important, because when you want to move to a third country, you might not just move there next day, next month. Sometimes it could take 3 months, 6 months. You want to sit down to really thinking about it. That's why it's very important to take some actions and after information interview to thank people and stay connected. If you haven't already, connect with people on the LinkedIn and ask them, are they open to continue help and support you? Ask them to take a look about your resume. Resume is important in different countries. So for example, in the US resume, you never put your profile picture on the resume. But in Netherlands, it is common to have a profile picture on top of the resume. How did I learn this? Informational interview. Other people told me so. This is why have people look at your resume is important. And also ask them, do they have a contact that you would like to connect with, or they might think it's good for you to connect with. Ask them if they would be in mind to make an introduction. That's how network works. You work with one person, ask them to see if have any other person might have some similar interest or common background might help you. That's how you make more connection just by this one person and become 3, become 5. Keep them updated on your progress. If they know you want to move to that country, let them know. Maybe every 3 months, send a very quickly notes on the LinkedIn. So in that way, you steer on their eyes. If their company have any opening, they might think about, oh, I know one of alumni from UC San Diego, and this individual tried to move to Netherlands. This job might be a good fit for them, so I might send the job application to them. So that's why if you keep update with person on the informational interview, you might somehow get a chance with job opportunities. And if they do agree chat with you, they are most likely to interested in help you to be successful. So thanks them for their time. And one last thing I think for the informational interview could really lead into is coach, mentor, sponsor. That's a 3 pillar I use for network. Is ask your informational interview person, are they willing to become your coach? Or are they welcome to become your mentor? And sponsor, that's a different level. So I want to clarify about mentor, coach, mentor, and sponsor. For example, there's a golden door there is your success. A coach will direct you where the door at, where is your success area. A mentor would push you through the door because they are next level to help you. They want your success. And even if you are not motivated, they will give you a push. Coach won't do that. The next level is a sponsor. What does sponsor do? You really build that network connection with them. They really want to help you. They want to go through the progress, go through the journey with you together. The sponsor will hold your hands, walk into the door, the golden door together to help you success. So that's the 3 level of the connection or networking. I think many of these start from informational interview. One of my best mentor is I went to a conference, I asked for informational interview from one phone call to a coffee shop, we grab coffee together, to a lunch, or to right now it's a monthly call, just check in to see how I'm doing. So I do want to say the informational interview works, and you just need take time to find the person who able to guide you through your career journey. So let's take action and do an overview here. So initial next step, we were looking to like visa, immigration application, figure out the date when you want to apply or be in your destination country, date you need to start your immigration process. Can you apply this in the US? Or you need to apply in your home country. Departuring your current location plan. Do you need to move, packing, shipping, your current employment, financially, thinking about your tax, bank, accounts. So for a lot of international students, they forgot to file in the last year of tax return. If you do need to file tax return, definitely look into more information on that part. And the last part, very sad part is you will say goodbye to your friend and family. It is a process. I know it's hard, but that always leading to a new adventure ahead of you. Thinking about budgeting, visa application and process fee, passport updating, and other fees, for example, like airline ticket, insurance, post-arrival budget, how you're gonna pay for your cost of living in that destination country, things like that. You should take into consideration for the next step. So we provide a very quickly timeline here to see if you do want to move to a different country, you probably should start to thinking 6 months prior your move to reflect your next step, which we talked during the presentation today. You need to identify which country you want to move. You need to prepare application. If you move to the country, do you need a visa? And for some country, you even do need an international credential evaluation, which means verify your diploma from US, make sure it's legit. And 4 months prior your move, you probably need to make appointment with embassy, either in the US or maybe your home country. And 3 months prior your move, you need to really submit your application to the embassy because oftentimes it takes months to really review everything. And 3 months prior the move, or 2 months prior the move, you need to start searching the housing. You need to think about what other documentation you might need. Every country is different. So for example, in most of European countries, you do need to bring your birth certification in order to register with the city hall. You need to register in order to get everything works. So that's a very different culture, different system. So identify what other documentation you might need for the country. And the last, you need to start your job searching 2 months ahead. So I highly recommend thinking about linking jobs, just looking about, think about what qualification people are looking at, what job opportunities are available. Maybe that's the time you want to start apply and indicate in your cover letter, let people know you will have work authorization in this country. You will move there in 2 months. That could be a better chance for you to secure a job before you move to that country. So let's put into some steps. So first, start reflecting, identifying your motivation, value, and purpose. This will help you determine what post-OPT option is. Be specific, identify your location, visa type, career you want to pursue. Start building your timeline. As we review in our previous slides, we suggest a 6-month plan, but if you can plan 9 months, 12 months ahead, even better. In this period, you would prepare your application, meeting with a consulate embassy to apply, prepare your move, and arrive your destination. Create your budget, build your pre-planned, pre-departure budget, visa, fees, passport, everything like that. And now you are pursuing this option. Have a plan B now. If you need any changes on your arriving date or things you can last minute change, then you don't need to worry about this smaller part because that's more adjustable. The biggest part is you want to have a plan B. You want to know your options. That's why I'm here today to share about my journey and how I find my own options in pursuing career overseas post-OPT. And I hope it helped with you all. And we are leading the Q&A sessions. I know I've been talking a lot here. I also want to hear more about what are some thoughts from our students. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Tim. That was really, really informative. Thank you so much. There are a couple questions in the chat, but I wanted to first start off by asking, when you want to move to another country, do you have to first work with the embassy of that country to say, I want to move there, or you just get up and go?
Yeah, I think it's very different by the citizenship. So for example, some country, if you have US citizen or South Korea, for example, I can use Netherlands as some other European country, you do immigration process in the country directly based on your citizenship, because you don't need a visa to arrive that country. You can start your application in the destination country. But for similar in Netherlands, for some citizenship, you need a visa. You have to apply from the embassy. But the embassy might just be an initiative, like initiation in terms of your process. They don't really look in your case. They send everything back to the country to do the application in terms of process. So you do need to have a contact with embassy if your citizenship do require visa to the destination country. And eventually you do need to go through embassy as your first step to start the initiative.
So embassy while you're in your home country, or it depends on the citizenship?
People could apply from US. I think most times the embassy work in the US depends on your legal residency. So for example, if individual students have OPT, so which means they are legally to stay in the US, they just need to make sure they do have enough legally stay time in the US during the application waiting period. For example, if they applied for a visa in, let's say, in the European country, then they submitted their application 1 month before their OPT expired. Then that might have an issue because they're gonna be overstaying the US. So that timeline is important. If people can prepare in advance, for example, 5 months in advance, you can start submitting your application. You might need for 3 months until the decision come out. So then you are capable to apply in the US while you have maybe 6 months OPT time left.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
There's also another question. Could you introduce some overseas market I'm not sure about that.
Overseas market?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the market is always about understanding the biggest business, where they're moving to, understanding the political background behind it. So for example, one of the example, I think about Brexit. So, UK is no longer part of the European Union. So there are so many shifts happening just within Europe right now. Is so many agencies, they actually move their headquarters from London to different European country. The reason is London is no longer part of the EU, and they have to set their operation with a EU country. That's also a new market, which you need really dig into to see what are biggest changes near the countries. And additionally, you should look into where the biggest US country are moving to. I do want to see the US economics very big. So if you can follow the trend with a US company where they set their headquarters in the overseas countries, oftentimes there's a reason behind it because the market is growing in that destination country. So that's kind of piece of my advice in terms of looking for the job market in the different countries.
Thank you so much. Our next question is how to look for a job in the US and Netherlands. I mean, where and how to find the job opportunities. Is there some portal? So most of the students here are, all our campuses use Handshake. So that's definitely a good place to begin with the job search as well. In addition, some of us, at least UCLA, and I know several others have Going Global as well. That would be another place to look for jobs abroad. You can look for jobs based on country as well. There's about 100 20 countries represented on Going Global. Can you suggest any others, Mr. Zhang?
Yeah, definitely. So I think handshake is very big in the US, but hardly you will find any third country come to hiring through a handshake. And I think from the different kind of provider, I think LinkedIn jobs for certain countries, they are super big. The reason from it is LinkedIn is such a big network. So you can easily go to LinkedIn job, searching for the destination countries jobs. That's one of my tips in terms of job searching. The other things I was thinking is to searching about the expat website. So a lot of countries, they have an expat group or expat website. So on this website, they do provide different kind of jobs for expat or jobs for English speaking only. So that's another platform people could find their jobs.
I'm so sorry, what was the platform again?
So like expat website, so like every single country have there's a term, it's called expat. So it means you are not expat. So let me think about EXPAT, like expat of the country. So that's expat. Thank you, Carlo. Yeah. So expat is a definition for a lot of countries they're using for people who are not from there as a foreign, but they use expat as a phrase. So on different countries have different expats like website. They really emphasize to help expats to settle in the country, help people to secure a job. So for example, German have a German expat website. So Netherlands have a Netherlands expat, or maybe UK also have a UK like foreign group or expat group. So from this group website, they really have a different kind of like job opportunity for people from different countries. So that would be one of my recommendations for people looking for the jobs. I think other things in terms of job searching and navigate their opportunity in the destination countries, when you're looking for the job description, either on LinkedIn or on different other websites, is to understanding what qualification, what the skill set they are missing in that country. So that would give you a better sense of idea is what employer try to get people from. And other things is looking if their job post is in English or in local language. Most likely, if their job post in the local language, they try to hire people locally. They're not really looking for international people. So that's another of my advice there.
Thank you so much. The next question is, what does Overeasy do, your company?
Yeah, so what we do is we really help people in terms of moving to the Netherlands specifically. And as I mentioned, my goal is really to have more resources in terms of where people can move to globally. And currently we are based in the Netherlands because the immigration policy wise. What we do is we help people to relocate to Netherlands, help them really create this kind of like orientation welcome week program, welcome the expat to landing here together to building the community. And the reason is probably a lot of people graduate from college have the similar feelings. You move to a different city, you start to feel lonely. You are not connected with other people in that area. Similar for people move to a new country, they want to find a community, you want to find a group. And what Overseasy do is really to build that community for people who want to move to the Netherlands. So that's our goal.
Thank you so much. Another question is, what are the avenues to find jobs outside of the US? Any particular best practices, websites to explore the market and possible career options? Initially, one may not have a big enough network to rely on them. So you have touched on the majority of these questions so far, but I would say that a lot of times when we're speaking with students, we do ask them to research the market and figure out like what is the market in the country you want to go to, what is it like. Besides the Vault Guide, are there any good resources that you can recommend for students to do this research?
I think things right now it's a pandemic. One of the things when I'm looking for different country, even nowadays, is looking for the unemployment rate right now. because unemployment rate represents the country's economic. If you do want to move nowadays, Netherlands is 2.9% unemployment rate. Spain is almost 20% unemployment rate. You know, the number is very big different. Then you know you will go to Spain, probably not be a good chance to find a job because 20% of their national is losing a job right now. So that's one of the things looking this data is very important. And most government websites do have this data available to public. The other things is to understanding the trend of the unemployment rate. So for example, I think in the different workshop, I did one of the charts is talking about Netherlands in terms of their unemployment rate. So in 2014, we have highest unemployment rate. So I have to dig into a little bit more to understanding why 2014 have a highest unemployment rate. Then later on, I realized is the 2008, the recession did not hit on Netherlands initial stage, they hit on the later stage because the government do provide a lot of support for example, restaurants or hospitality industry. So from that data set, you will notice, yeah, Netherlands is fine in 2009, 2010, but until later, the government pulled away from their support, then a lot of companies crashed, crashed from there. So similar thing happened, that's my prediction, even with Netherlands currently. I want to be honest and provide transparency information. Right now, we do have lowest unemployment rate, but the government still do support a lot of companies on that part. Maybe in 3 years or 4 years, if government decide to pull away from the support, we might have issue later on. So that's another way you look into the job market to understanding when is the enter point to that country and how that country's economic works. So that's one thing I recommend looking the data from the country is very important. The other data set some country do provide is you can look the number of the working visa issued by the country. So for example, in the US, H1B visa every year is 65,000 is bachelor level or mixed with master, then 20,000 with the master level. Add up is 85,000. But in Netherlands itself, so every year is issued around 25,000 work visa. But our population is so small. So compare the ratio in terms of how big the population, what's the ratio like in terms of with their local people, they issue a one-off work visa. That also give you a better idea about if the country really welcome foreign worker to there. So I think that helped a lot from my perspective.
Thank you so much. We have another question. You said you had an H1B visa and then because you miss international travel, you let it go. Did you apply to go to Amsterdam while you still had H1B visa, or did you go back home to your country and then apply to Amsterdam? Can you talk a little more about the fact that you had to apply every time you left the US with your H1B visa, please?
Yeah, I think that's a very specific like immigration question. So I can share my stories, but I know soon there's another workshop specific talking about OPT and H1B in the US. So my experience, I was during the process which H1B have not get it yet. I was on my OPT. So I decided to move to Netherlands while in my OPT period. And I did apply in the US because I was legally reside in the US, so I can apply in the US. So that's kind of my experience and how I end up in the Netherlands is while I was on the OPT. But in terms of question about why H1B need to renew, so I'm still a Chinese citizen. So H1B visa, the visa stamp on your passport, once you leave the US, you can re-enter with that visa stamp, only validate 1 year for Chinese citizen. But different country might have different lengths for their H1B visa time. For me, I do want to have more international traveling, and by have that kind of the restrict in terms of every year I have, if I want to leave the US, I have to renew my visa. Otherwise, I can stay in the US for 6 years nonstop. I feel limited for myself. That's the reason I decided, I don't want to lock myself in the US during that time. And oftentimes H1B depend on the company. You will get an administration check. So you might stock some country while you are doing your H1B visa. So this uncertainty, I think that's the reason why I decided to not continue my H1B process.
Thank you so much. At this juncture, we have to end the webinar. We'd like to thank Mr. Tim for his time and all his information. Thank you so much for presenting to us and letting us know how we can transfer our employment to other countries. This was very, very informative. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We will also be sending out a survey. We would appreciate if folks would fill it out and give us some feedback about the workshop. In the meantime, we didn't get to all the questions, but if you have any specific questions, please do consult with your career advisor at your specific school about it. Again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you, and we hope that you learned a great deal from this workshop. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tim, and thank you, Sanaz, for moderating the Q&A. I just have a really quick announcement before we end today. As part of this UC Career Conference for international students, we do have 3 additional webinars coming up. So we have a session coming up tomorrow where you'll hear from an immigration attorney talking about US work authorizations for international students. So for those of you who are curious to learn more about the process from OPT to H1B sponsorship to the green card, please check out the webinar coming up next. After that, we'll hear from a panel discussion among recruiters and international alumni sharing their experience and insights in the job search. And finally, we have a webinar about ways to boost your job search using a few practices in mindfulness. So we hope you enjoyed today's session, and we hope you'll join us again for these next sessions. So thank you again, take care, and this concludes our webinar for today.